Welcome to Ignite and Inspire, a podcast by entrepreneurs who were once in your shoes. My name is Tina Hamilton. I'm the CEO and founder of My HR Partner. Today's guest is Vince Scian of 15M Media. And our subject today is bootstrapping your business. But before we get into that, Vince, tell me a little bit about what you do.
Yeah, so I'm the founder of 15M Media. We use social media podcasts and marketing content to help small local family businesses tell their story. A big thing we're focusing on this year is kind of mini documentaries about all of our clients. So think of like a 2 to 3 minute quick story of your business. We like to do quarterly content days with our clients. So the idea is to keep coming out every quarter and tie in another little interview each time. But the first one just being about who our clients are as people. I thought of the business when I was selling Verizon internet door to door around Philadelphia. I didn't realize how much small business there was in the city. And I noticed that every single person was an expert in what they did, but they didn't know how to connect with their community and tell their story in a way like I was trained to do. My background's in journalism, documentary production. I ran the sports section of Rowan's student paper, The Wit. That's where I learned how to delegate to employees, especially doing content. But I realized I had all these skills that I could apply to helping these businesses tell their story. And that's kind of where the idea for the business came from. It actually came from a lamp shop that was on the corner of the block I used to live on. And I was like, if I need to fix a lamp, like a fancy lamp in my apartment, and I Google how to fix my lamp, that lamp shop should come up because they posted some kind of TikTok about it or something.
Right.
So that was the original idea. I should probably pitch them, considering they're the reason I started my business. I've never been in there. I saw the business.
Wow.
It's like on the corner where I used to live. I should probably pop in there and see, if I can help them out a little bit. That's kind of been the genesis of the business. We're about 2.5 years in. We started in 2021, and we're up to 2 full-time content people. We're building a sales team out, and that's where we are. That's where we are today.
Wow. I love your story about how you started up, and I think what's inspirational about that, I'd love to hear a little bit more, is what gave you the guts to just walk into this place and without having any experience, any background, not even a business card. Like, what gave you the gumption to do that, and then how did you handle it?
Yeah, so when I started out, I knew sales was not my forte because I was in sales as my job, and I knew I was bad at it.
Yeah.
Because at the time I had thought of this, I had made 1 sale. So I was like, maybe this sales thing isn't for me. So I mentioned the idea to someone I knew, and he actually showed me a text message that he had sent to his wife, which is the exact same idea for a business that he had sent like 2 days before. So he's like, if you want help, I'm in.
Wow.
And I was like, I do need help 'cause me personally, especially at the time, I needed someone to be accountable to. If I told myself this was just a thing I was going to do, I never would have done it.
So having that personal insight about your own self.
Yeah. It's I was self-aware of the fact that I had done enough things before. I'd started enough lemonade stands to know that I was going to be real excited at the beginning and then hit a wall like a week into it.
Okay.
So I knew I needed someone to just kind of keep me accountable, keep me going. Even if it wasn't going to be sustaining our families money-wise at the beginning, like just having someone else there that I knew was going to be checking in on me.
Right.
So that helped at the beginning. He had a background in sales, so that was his role. He was the adult in the room, I like to say. I needed an adult in the room. I was 22, and I just needed an adult in the room. And then, so he helped with sales at the beginning, made some great introductions. We start to snowball from there a little bit. It's kind of having someone else behind me at the beginning. That's kind of what gave me the courage to like go in and talk to people, knowing that I can kick any conversation to, let me bounce this off of. I'm not sure the answer. Let me bounce this off of my business partner. We'll get back to you. So it was just having the. Knowing I had someone that I could like rely on.
Right. That sense of security.
Yeah. It was a little bit of a security blanket.
So having self-awareness is so important early in your business because, as you know, you can't do it alone. It's even if you are alone in your business, like how I started my business, you still need support around you. So we're talking about bootstrapping. So how did you handle it that early on? You were young. You didn't probably have a boatload of cash to work from. I'm taking a wild guess.
You were correct.
Yeah.
I did not have a boatload of cash to work from. going back even a little bit further, I worked at a court reporting company out of college.
Okay.
I was in production for a court reporting company, which I thought meant I was going to be filming depositions, semi-video editing. It would be real fun.
Okay.
Then the pandemic happened,
Oh, no.
and there were no in-person depositions. So I was basically a Zoom coach for about a year, teaching lawyers how to do Zoom.
Wow.
And then I would take these transcripts, send them out to people. So I did that for about a year. And then I quit that because it was the worst job. I did not like that job at all. And then spent a year pretending like I was going to go find another job. So it was about a year of me just draining that savings account that I had built up. So by the time I decided to start this business, my back was against the wall. I had pretty much no cash left. And I went on LegalZoom.com when I thought of the business. This was before I actually went to my former business partner about this idea. So I'd filed for the LLC on my own.
Okay.
And then I'd started the filing and then brought him on later on. I think it was like $300 to file for the LLC, and to set up the website was maybe another $300 for the year or something. I overdrew my account doing that.
No kidding.
Yeah, so I think I had to borrow money from my now fiance, my girlfriend at the time.
Ouch.
I think I had to borrow a few dollars from her, which she's the best. That's another thing. Have someone in your personal life that you can rely on, because you can't just tell someone to do that, but
Right.
having someone in your personal life that you can rely on is huge, because up until very recently, she was bankrolling the entire family.
No kidding.
Yeah.
She must really like you.
She must. It's a really nice ring. I don't know if that's why, but yeah, so it was a few $100s to go on LegalZoom, file for the LLC, and then a business like ours, we have no overhead. My only overhead currently is we own some equipment, but we're shooting on iPhones right now. So this is a little back. This is ours podcast setup here. We're producing the podcast. We're shooting on a couple iPhones. Not to snitch on ourselves, but I'm hoping you couldn't tell until I just said it.
Right.
But yeah, trying to just do things as effectively. I don't want to say cheap, because that's not the right word. Doing things as efficiently as possible. Our core values as a company are creativity, resourcefulness, integrity, adaptability, and growth. With adaptability and resourcefulness being my absolute two favorite. Just finding a way to get it done for cheaper and better.
Right.
The old marketing joke is, do you want it good, fast, or cheap? And you can only pick two. And I'm like, well, if we just offer three, if we offer all three, we're putting ourselves ahead of everybody else. So that's what we try to do with those, is bring all three of those elements together. So yeah, found a way to do it pretty cheap. There's probably a cheaper way to do it if I had filed it myself instead of going through LegalZoom, but it was also the easiest. Just LegalZoom.com. I wanted an LLC. This is what I wanted to do. Send. Came back a month later, got our articles of formation, went to the bank, set up a bank account, tossed a few $100s in there from our first paycheck that we got from a client, and yeah, we've been off from there.
Sounds like you didn't make a big mistake that I see a lot from entrepreneurs, and that's letting their ego get in the way. Having to have fancy equipment, having to look a certain way.
Well, when you can't afford to do things a certain way, it makes it a lot easier to let your ego go to the side. And then also when you have your girlfriend, fiance, partner kind of bankrolling you at the same time,
Yeah.
goes away a little bit too. Also, ego had been shot a few months prior to when I started the business. I was bringing in no money. I was lying to myself that I was looking for a job. I was just staying at home pretty much every day. And basically feeling like a loser, for lack of a better term. That's kind of where you need to go as a business owner at some point.
To get down into that ugly place.
So there was 1 month where I did not bring in a dime. And Brenna, my girlfriend's sister, was babysitting our dog. And she brings her back, and she was like, Ruby found a $50 bill on the street. And I was like, the dog made more money than me this month? So that was pretty much rock bottom. So it was kind of hard to let my ego get hurt after that. I was like, well, I had a month where my dog was more productive than I was.
That's awesome.
So after that, it got pretty easy to go thin on the expenses.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So once you started making money, how did you decide what to spend where and how to start investing?
Yeah, so we went pretty light at the beginning. So I don't know if I said this, but my business partner and I have since parted ways.
No, you didn't.
Yeah, so we wanted to take the business different directions, had different visions for it. Where I think I got lucky is that he was very tight with the wallet, because I'm not.
Okay.
I do like to spend on nice things. I have to justify it with it's actually useful for the business.
Right.
I would have bought 3 very nice cameras to set up, not thinking that, oh, I would need to then have basically like a production assistant with me every single time running the cameras, because the staff I hired they aren't camera people. They weren't supposed to be. So I would have to hire someone that knew how to work a camera every time, which I kind of know how to do, but I'm not great at it. I would never say I'm an expert. So I would have to then hire a production assistant every single time to come out and set up our shots and run our cameras, and it would have snowballed into wasting more and more money. So it was strategically trying to find things that would make us more money, basically. So we didn't make any traditional investments at the beginning. We still haven't made any traditional investments. It's all been people so far. We hired our good friend Eddie to pretty much run the show. He's head of operations now. And then Liv, who is our content manager, she worked for Brenna at her previous job.
Brenna's your fiance.
She's my fiance. Sorry, yeah. So she worked for Brenna in retail. I knew she had a background. Like, I knew she did social media in college, and she was looking for a full-time job. And I was like, well, I went to Brenna. I was like, is she a good employee? She was like the best. I was like, cool, she's hired.
Perfect.
I knew she technically had the skills to do what we do, and I knew she was a culture fit. So I was like, perfect. So that for me is investment. I'd rather invest in, at that point in the business, I was investing in the people instead of.
So did you hire her when you could afford her, or did you hire her when you needed her?
When we could afford her.
Okay.
We still are drastically overstaffed, which is exactly how I want it. I would like to accidentally find out where our breaking point is. Like, I'd rather work up to our breaking point of where we need to hire somebody. So that way we know we have the cash to then go do it.
Right. Smart.
Yeah, so my goal was, I've always wanted to step out of operations and run the business. That was always the plan. I think we've more or less gotten to that point. I still do a few things here and there. But that was big for her to just handle a couple clients that I was working on that were kind of bogging down my time. Which no clients bog down my time. If anyone's listening, everyone's great. But you need time to run your business. So
right, absolutely.
That was the investment there. It's like, yeah, we're going to take a little bit of a hit on our margins, but at the end of the day, it's going to help the business 2 steps down the road.
That's right, because you have to go down before you can go back up.
Yes,
right?
yes. So like, I don't want to say it's 2 steps forward or 2 steps back, 1 step forward or whatever, whatever the actual correct saying is. But it kind of is what you have to do. You have to make $10, spend $6 to go make another 10. It's just the easiest way to do it sustainably, too. A lot of people outgrow themselves, I feel like, which I felt us on that trajectory, so I kind of slowed things down, being like, hey, we're ballooning cash right now. We don't need to be doing this. Like, let's find a more sustainable way to do what we're doing.
Right, right. So how did you decide what type of mix to get with clients?
Yeah, so that was a lot of trial and error. We brought in a couple clients that paid really well that didn't fit my original vision for the business, but there was a disconnect between the sales team and me on what I wanted the vision for the business to be, because I never articulated it. So it's my fault at the end of the day. It was learning,
right.
yeah.
It's not like you get a manual when you start a business.
Yeah, I never clearly articulated the vision of the business to people. So it was just, we do social media for businesses, so just bring me businesses. So we got a few that paid well, got us through a long time of paying us well. But it was nothing ever really clicked with a couple of these clients.
When you say click, what do you mean?
The content never really was perfect. Like,
okay.
When content's right, it kind of sings a little bit. I don't like to finish content until I get that goosebump feeling.
Okay.
It was kind of the same way. I was always the same way with essays in school. I'm like, I can't end this until I end it correctly. Like, you can just stop writing, or you can really tie this together. So when you get content right, whether it's a video or something, you get the little goosebump feeling. It starts to sing, like I said. Nothing was really happening for a couple of these clients, and I really couldn't figure out why. And I'm like, I think it's just because our vision is too far off. Like, I'm trying to do one thing with them. I'm trying to tell an emotional, good story, and it's not what they needed.
Okay.
They needed someone to post, lack of a better term, boring content.
That's what they wanted, or that's what they needed?
That's kind of what their industry called for,
okay.
And the industry hadn't really shown a way to do it in a way that we wanted to do yet.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of trying new things, and we just didn't have the time to try new things, because they were like, we're spending money on you. We don't have time to try a new thing every month. Especially in social media, you need a good amount of time to start seeing trends. Month at the least to try to look for a trend in your own content in the analytics. And not a lot of people want to give you that time. So that's how I learned how to niche down. Like, I thought niching clients was dumb at the beginning. I was like, we can adapt our approach to anybody. Like, we don't need to have a specific type of client. And then quickly learned that wasn't true. It's much better to niche. That way you get good at what you do. You can systemize it. The McDonald'sification, I think the E-Myth calls it, of your business. Just
absolutely.
do the same thing over and over again with the same quality. So,
And with the target market, you know who to market to, you know who
Yes.
to look for,
exactly.
and you're staying on track.
Yeah. So we just recently implemented EOS, which has been
Oh,
very
wonderful.
helpful. Yeah, it's been very helpful for
Now,
us.
how have you done that with just a few people? Because if people aren't familiar with EOS, it's an entrepreneurial operating system. Has nothing to do with EO, entrepreneur organization, but a lot of people in EO use EOS. I personally use it in my own business. It's been a game changer.
Yeah. So I had Eddie and Liv read Traction, with the caveat of not to take anything too literally, because the concepts in there work for any business of any size. The actual implementation of EOS is for businesses doing over $1 million. I think close to 10 million, with like a leadership team of 10 at least. We're not doing that much in revenue every
Right.
year, and we're definitely not that big of a team. So I was like, I want all these principles adapted to our business, but don't take anything in there too literally. Like, if it says, like, some of the meetings that it lays out are for large teams, and like, we don't
Right.
have that. Don't take it too literally.
Right.
We'll adapt it to what we want to do. But my mindset behind doing that was, I want to be that size. So why not plan to be that size
Right.
now?
Act like it now is what they say
Yeah.
to do, right?
Yeah. Manifestation, I guess,
Mhm.
for lack of a better term.
Plus, you
So
were
it's-
creating good practices, good best practices.
Yeah.
That once you start, if you don't have them in place, it's harder to put them in place. So I love that you're advising that people put in practices as if they're bigger now, and
Yeah,
just
so-
use your head,
Exactly.
and not have 20 meetings a week because you don't have 20 departments.
Yes. So in EOA, they have us read Scaling Up, which is kind of another version of EOS.
Right.
Same.
Fair and Harnish.
Yeah, you end up learning everything is kind of the same principle. So I had Eddie start coming to the EOA learning days with me, and they pulled up the vision summary for Scaling Up, and he's looking for it. I'm like, it's our VTO. Don't worry about it. We already have this. So it's kind of the same principles. But there was an example in that book that always sticks with me about building culture in your company. And there was a large company that had 2 employees get in a fight in the parking lot. So they decided they need to fix their culture. I'm like, well, why don't you just do it first? So that way you
Right.
don't get to the fight in the parking lot. Not to knock the company that had the issue. They didn't know what they didn't know
Sure.
either. But I'm like, well, I'm learning this example now. I'm gonna actually learn from it, which has been
beautiful.
my favorite
Yeah.
part of being around EO. It's just learning how everyone else messed up, so I don't also do it.
Very good point.
Yeah, it's kind of I didn't learn about Gestalt until recently, but I love it.
Do you want to
because-
explain what Gestalt is? So people
Yeah,
know?
so it's the idea of not giving advice, but experience sharing, which is kind of what this podcast is. It's entrepreneurs
Right.
sharing tough times they've been through, and hopefully people learn from them.
Right.
But yeah, it's the idea of sharing experiences, and then the listener can take what they want from it. Now I'm thinking about it. Kevin Nolan's book, Organizational Muscle, is a book of Gestalt. It's how he built his business over 40 years. And at the beginning, he says, take what you want from it. Like, you don't need to do everything I say. But that mindset has really been helpful for me, because I don't like being told what to do, as most entrepreneurs don't.
It's true.
Yeah, we do not like being told what to do
Right.
at all. So if I hear your situation, I can decide what the result is from that, and then take from it what I want. But that's been super helpful for me.
Have you had any situations where people didn't support your goals or didn't understand why you were putting all your energy and eggs into something like this, a risky startup situation?
Surprisingly, no. I
No,
haven't really had any
great.
pushback. I have very supportive parents who, when I told this, I don't think they were like, cool, you're set for life now. I think they were like, all right, man, like, home's here if you need it.
Nice.
Which is always nice to have. And then Brenna is just so incredible. She's not going to watch this, which is the only reason I'm saying this. But no, she's always been so supportive, and like, her dad was also like he's a professional piano player, which is not a desk
That's
job.
interesting.
So when I floated this idea by her, there wasn't but how are we going to pay the bills? And
Right.
like all that. She was like, yeah, don't, like, just do it. Like, she didn't understand why I was asking her, I think. Because I obviously wanted to let her know, because our bills were tied together.
Absolutely.
But it like wasn't even a question for her. It was just, yeah, go do it.
That's wonderful. Not everybody really understands the life of an entrepreneur or the mind of an entrepreneur, right? And that destiny. And I think the other thing that people don't understand is it's not always about money, right? Would you speak to that?
Yeah, so you can...
Especially when you don't have any money.
Yeah, when you
right?
run a business, you can run a business to run a business, or you can run a business to make money. They often don't overlap.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with either mindset, I think. I think it's just very two different kinds of people. And in my experience, don't get in a business partnership with someone if they have the opposite viewpoint.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because there's nothing wrong with running a business to make money, but a lot of people in EO, I would imagine, are in the business to build a business.
Right.
Which, yeah, sorry, you repeat. I got a little into
well,
the weeds of my
the
own
money
thought.
has to be. Well, you're on the right track. The money
Yeah.
has to be the result of the passion
Yes.
building the business.
The money comes if you do what you want to do.
Right.
If you do it, assuming there's not a flawed thing in your business.
Absolutely,
but, like,
right.
It's kind of, if you're really passionate about it, someone else is also passionate about it.
Right.
So, like, I thought of this idea for the mini documentary thing for small business, just kind of off the top of my head, and I floated it by some people, and every single person was like, yes, absolutely, we want that. And I was like, cool. So
That gave you some energy.
yeah, so, like, if I'm passionate about telling businesses stories, businesses are going to be passionate about their own story. They want it told.
Absolutely.
And then people will pay you for what you're good at. Just the saying, if you're good at something, never do it for free. I always thought that was crazy because if you ask probably any entrepreneur, they've done the thing that they love for free for years, if I had to guess. We did a lot of stuff for free for a long time just to build that portfolio up. But if you do what you want to do the way you want to do it, the money will eventually come. You just have to be very, very patient.
Right. Right. And prepare that you might not make some money for a while.
Like, so what I did the day I decided to start the business, I worked in coffee shops all through high school and college. After college, I told myself I was never working an hourly coffee shop job again.
Okay.
And then the second I decided I was starting this business, I walked into a cafe. I was like, can I have a job? And they said yes. And then I worked there for like a year so I used that to sustain myself while having the flexibility to run my own business on the side. Kept reasonable hours too. Because it's a coffee shop, it's pretty predictable when the hours are.
True.
It wasn't very busy, so I had my laptop open there most of the time doing work here and there. If you have a client communication heavy focused business, maybe have someone that can help you out, which is good for me because one of us could take a call at all times. But yeah, just doing whatever you got to do to make sure the bills are paid while also doing this on the side.
So now you're how many years into your business?
A little over 2.5.
2.5
Actually,
years.
just 2.5 because it was July of 2021.
Yeah. So for somebody just starting out, what would be your best advice or experience share that you would give to them looking at you thinking, oh man, I don't even know how I'll get there, right?
Yeah, so not to sound corny, but literally just do it. Stop talking about it. Just go do the thing that you said you want to do.
Step ahead.
This is going to sound so like finance bro-y, but there's a million reasons not to do it.
Right.
Just forget it.
Just do it. Just walk into that shop like you did. Just walk in, and what's the worst that's going to happen?
Exactly. I think so Paige D'Angelo, who won Philly
Oh,
GSA
yeah,
last
she's
year.
fabulous. I love her.
I stole this phrase from her, who I think got it from her dad, is that everything is figure outable. I love it. I think her dad told her that. It's so true, though. Like, if you're willing enough to do this, you can figure anything out. Growing up, my favorite TV show was MacGyver. It still is. I have my Swiss Army knife over on the desk. Resourcefulness is one of our values because of that. You can be in the worst possible situation you can think of with duct tape and a paper clip, and you can get yourself out of it. Like, everything is figure outable.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. That's good advice.
Yeah. And if it isn't, have a good support network behind you that can help you. But you know, if you start with nothing, the worst you can get back to is nothing. So
right. And you were smart in getting involved in EO and having that support behind you because being around people that are more successful than you, you hear that you're as good as the people you hang out with. Mm-hmm. But in business, especially, I think I'll let you speak to it.
Yeah, so a fun thing I like to do in EO is just tell other people about my ideas as if I'm already doing them. And then I gauge their reaction.
Oh, no kidding.
As their advice, because we're not allowed to give advice. So if someone's like, yeah, but does this work? And I'm like, I don't know. I'll tell. That's a good question. But yeah, I like to just throw my ideas out there as if I'm already doing them, which I forget where I learned that tactic from, but if you decide you want to do something, just start telling people you're doing it, because then that makes it true.
Oh,
Um,
good point.
because if you tell, not a lie, but if you tell someone a lie and then that person internalizes it and tells someone else, it becomes the truth, pretty much.
Right.
Um, so yeah, I just like to say what I'm going to do, put it out there in the universe, and just it ends up happening.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's great. It's great. That's inspiring and probably true for most entrepreneurs.
Yeah, so I think the best thing you can do is tell someone else about it just to get it out of your head. Fully flush out the idea. Learn how to do a business plan. Read traction if you have to. Like, there's some things that I didn't know at the beginning that I wish I did know. Mostly building a business plan.
Mm-hmm.
It took us 2.5 years to build a proper one. I thought that was too long. I learned later that some people go 15 years without building a business plan. So there's never a wrong time to do it, but definitely the right time to do it is at the beginning.
Right.
Um,
So you can
So-
think through those details that you
Yeah.
might not think about.
And YouTube is free. That's my other thing. Like, even if you don't know
Wonderful.
how to do what your business is going to do,
Right.
YouTube is completely free. And then there's other stuff like MIT offers free lectures that you can go listen to. Like,
Oh, no kidding.
they're very specialized fields, so you can learn anything on the internet now.
Right.
Go learn it yourself. But if you need to know, like, learn how to do a business plan, go on YouTube. How do I start a business plan? Or how do I make a business plan? It'll teach you about your market, like your processes from beginning to end. Is something broken somewhere? Because the last thing you want is to build this basically pipeline from beginning to end and find out halfway through it that it's kinked in the middle.
Right.
So you want to make sure your process works from beginning to end. A good example of that is we just built our social media calendar basically for the year for our clients, like the calendar we're going to take them through. And then I'm looking at it on paper and I'm like, this doesn't seem right. So I wrote it out on the calendar and I was like, nope, I was right. There was a month in the middle where it wouldn't have lined up right, where we would have had a week or two without content. So I fixed it, fixed the schedule, and now we're good to go. So just think every idea through to the end. Plan to the end, not to
That's
later
really
on.
good
Plan
advice,
until the
yeah.
end. Yeah. Whether it's to your retirement or to the end of this client's cycle,
Right.
whatever it is, whatever the end result is, plan until then.
Because sometimes people are just reacting on a thought
Mm-hmm.
and not looking at all the angles of how it can go. Or,
Yeah, you need to go back to the Swiss Army knife thing. You need to be a Swiss Army knife as an entrepreneur. You need to be able to think quickly on your feet in the moment while also planning for the end.
Yeah. Great advice. Well, thank you, Vince. This
Yeah,
has
this is
been
great.
really interesting and inspiring,
Yeah.
and especially for those that are in the early stage that are looking at you 2.5 years in, successful. Here we are. Congratulations.
Thanks. This is great. I'm not usually a guest on a podcast. We're usually either producing or hosting our own, so this was fun.
Great. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
If you'd like to know more about Entrepreneurs Organization or EO Accelerator or EO Ignite, go to eophiladelphia.com.